Court system by the DC government since 2008. And we've reached the end of discovery, so I think we'll start seeing a little faster pace now as that progresses through the court system, upward and onwards.
Sir, man, I'm sorry, Heather. Good to see you.
Heather Forsgren-Weaver with the National Press Club's Wire. You've done a great indictment on the press here today, and at the end you said you wanted honest, objective reporting. Can you give us some examples? The three top things that would make it honest and objective.
Well, the example I used is a couple of things. Number one, I used the example here where in the story where the two armed citizens subdued the madman at Appalachia College, the word gun did not even appear in the story. I think that's not very objective. If they would have gone after him with a baseball bat, I think they wouldn't be here today.
And how did you find out then about?
I read a lot of newspapers, and I found it like on page 20 down at the bottom, and a little story about this big.
So it was a placement issue. It wasn't the story.
It never reached the Washington Post or the Washington Times, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, or the Express, or Politico, or The Hill.
Other questions?
Oh, yeah, by the way, I think there's another, you asked another question. What we see on television a lot, it seems like they always pick Bubba to answer to an interview instead of talking to the people around that might be wearing suits and ties and packing a gun that are concealed carry that might be a little bit more intelligent. So it gives us a real bad image. I'm not a Bubba, and I left my gun at home today.
Sir.
Hi, Bruce Majors from Washington, D.C. It looks like next year's mayoral race is going to have a teeny bit of gun control discussion in it because one person, Mendelson's already coming out for getting rid of jail time and maybe reducing fines for people who own a firearm legally outside of D.C. who are visiting as a tourist or something and happen to have it in their trunk and they're arrested. Do you have any thoughts on any of next year's D.C. elections and gun control?
I had a statement in here. I might have chopped it last night. What I said is, what was in my speech earlier, before the midnight cut, was police are emptying the governments are emptying the jails, and yet they're trying to shackle us with gun controls. My statement is the government, if they're administrators for an intelligent electorate, can't have it both ways. You can't empty the jails and take our guns. Does that answer your question?
Okay, sir, you and then you.
Ludwig Antoncelli with the American Spectator. I was wondering if you have been satisfied with the D.C. municipal government's implementation of your namesake case.
Well, good question. That's why we have Heller 2 addressing all 16 elements of their harassment or regulations or controls. And they're on my website, Heller Foundation, org or com, under court cases.
So is that a no?
Well, that's just the first follow-on. The last count I had about 12 cases with names on them that I would like to follow. I'd like to file, and if I would win the lottery, there would be some rich lawyers in town real fast.
Okay, sir, and then you.
Yeah. Okay. I asked your thought about the contradictory. Oh, yeah, I'm Herman. I work for some Indian newspapers, a freelance, and NPC member. I asked your thought about the contradictory manner between the wish of majority of Americans who wants a comprehensive background check on the gun. And at the same time, there is an increasing gun violence.
Could I just answer the first question? I have a short memory.
Okay, I asked you.
That's a very good question, and I had it in my speech, and I told the truth about it.
Okay.
Someone said 90%, and this was the figure I saw every newspaper, 90% of the citizens want universal background checks.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I would bet half a paycheck that not 50% of the citizenry on the street if asked in a fair, unbiased poll, if they would even know what a universal background check is, number one. And number two, I've never seen 90% of Americans agree on anything except after Pearl Harbor and 9/11.
So meaning to say that not the only media is biased,
That
but the
is
poll is
a-
also biased.
I would like to see the source of the figures, sir.
Oh, is that, did you ask all your questions? If not,
Okay,
you and then you.
I visit Australia a couple of times,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and I stayed in the Philippines for 4 years, but gun violence is not occurred every day, almost every day. In the U.S., it is almost a pattern already, every day. There is a wish to the majority of people to have for having a comprehensive gun violence. At the same time, the violence increasing dramatically. Why is that
Increasing dramatically in what country?
in the U.S.?
I don't study India, sir.
It was-
US.
Okay, sir?
He said India, I thought.
Yeah, sir?
In
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you say India
the
or
U.S.
the U.S.?
Oh, I thought you said India too.
Well, I can tell you, let me refer to this chart, and if you look, I get all of my data that I present when I present numbers is FBI data or Australia, equivalent of FBI data, or research data from the most recognized criminologist in America. And this is what happens. Gun crimes have gone down as concealed carry ownership has gone up. And just one more fact, in Australia, as soon as they had gun control where there's no guns, it's interesting, how could gun accidents reported by the Australian Institute of Criminology grow a jump to 300% of what they were before gun ban? The answer is simple. Before gun bans, people were trained. After gun bans, you can't have it, you couldn't take a course and be public, people were having accidents. 300%. So
Hey, sir.
gun crime is not growing in this U.S.
Mr. Heller,
Your name?
I'm sorry, George Lyon from Washington, D.C.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Heller, the reports are that the Illinois legislature has adopted a shall issue concealed carry bill, which would make Illinois the 50th state that issues carry permits, leaving D.C. as the last jurisdiction in the continental United States where there's no provision for a law-abiding citizen to carry a firearm. How do you feel about that?
How do I feel? Are you a reporter? Well, that's why I say 49 and a half states, because the governor has not yet signed that bill. And what's interesting, I have people tell me, I'm not leaving America to come and visit you in D.C. I sort of think that describes people's feelings about not having concealed carry or any kind of transport in D.C. And with overwhelming 100% of the states having concealed handgun carry, when it gets to the Supreme Court, who is going to vote against 100 to 0? In this case, 100% to 0 or 50 states to 0. It's got to be a gimme.
Sir?
Brett Jewett, just a local resident. So do you believe in universal background checks, or do you feel it's appropriate?
There might be some appropriateness to it, but the challenge is that whenever you have a universal background check, you cannot trust government. It will generate a list, and the list can be used. Not today. We have Fourth Amendment and a reasonable Supreme Court, but 10, 20, 30 years from now, who knows what use that list might have to another government.
But don't you think it flaws the current background checks that they have now? Because a felon can't buy a firearm right now through regular means, but he can go through private sales during gun sales or online sales.
Well, it's actually every time I bought a gun online, you have to go through. I have to transfer my firearm to an FFL dealer, and they've done a NICS test on me. They want my social security number.
That you can still purchase them privately from private sellers online as well too.
Well,
but you don't have to need an FFL for that.
Yeah,
You can just no, you don't.
Not right now.
You can always buy anything that's illegal somewhere. But the problem is we moving towards